loading, we are loading, we are loading. We should be live on Facebook right now as we get started here. Let's see what's happening. Make sure that we are up and running like we are supposed to be. Yes, we are 242 in the building. I see it live.
Yes, sir.
All right, bro. I am excited about this one. I am excited about this one. All right, folks, what's up, Facebook? It is your favorite entrepreneur series back in the building. Today, we are blessed to have this gentleman with us today. Mr. Edwin Pinder is a phenomenal entrepreneur. He is really setting the mark for his country of the Bahamas, literally carrying the flag around the world, the torch of entrepreneurship, the torch of trading, literally around the world, and representing, building not only a phenomenal organization, but just really a force of change on that island. Super excited that he was able to carve out some time with us today to share a little bit about his journey. So, Mr. Edwin Pender, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing excellent, Andrew. I'm doing excellent.
That's awesome, man. We had to cancel one of these already, so I'm excited we were able to put this back together. I know you have some phenomenal growth happening in the Bahamas within your business, and some phenomenal impact, and we'll get to that. I got my pen and paper ready because I'm always ready to take notes from leaders. So let me go ahead and just start off, man. Why don't we give people who don't know you just sort of a little bit about your background? You know, we already discussed you're from the Bahamas, but just a little bit about your background, and just kind of lead us up to where you are today.
Okay. Good afternoon, Facebook. Like Andrew said, my name is Edwin Pinder. I'm from Freeport, Grand Bahama. I'm originally from McLeanstown. They used to tell us that we're from behind the bush, so that's way to the eastern end of the island. I am 32 years old. I've been a police officer here in Freeport and around the Bahamas for the last 12 years. About 6 months ago, so I decided to resign from the police force. I've joined a company, formerly I Marcus Live, now I am Master Academy, for the last 2 years, where I've been learning the skill set of trading in the foreign exchange market. Me saying yes to the opportunity totally changed my life, and because of that, yes, I'm actually doing what I'm doing, just trying to change lives all around the Bahamas. And I honestly pledge to take our flag all around the world, like Andre said. So that's basically me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So let's dive a little deeper into the backstory. So you said it's called the Bush or Queen. What did you say it was called?
I'm from McLeanstown, but it is basically a small settlement way out the city, and so persons from the city would say that we're from behind the bush, because you
Behind the
have to
bush.
go through a lot of bush, and then you see that smaller settlement near the water.
I got you. So growing up, you said that you ended up going into the police force. Was that something that you wanted to do as a kid, or how did you wind up going into law enforcement?
Well, growing up, I always used to watch things like Walker the Texas Ranger and Law and Order, and so I always had that interest in actually joining the police force. I used to watch a lot of court cases, and I always wanted to be a prosecuting sergeant. Now, I didn't stay around in the police force long enough to actually achieve that, but it was a wonderful journey in the police force. So
Yeah.
that's basically how I got there.
So would you say that I know, like, for instance, Randy, one of our mentors, he talks a lot about how being involved in the Air Force, right, in the military, gave him a lot of discipline and a lot of leadership skills. Would you say that also translated in your experience from being in law enforcement as well, like discipline, some leadership skills, stuff like that?
I think that basically played a role in my being disciplined. Also, I have a very strong Christian background. My family all my life have been persons involved in church. I mean, like in front line. And then I genuinely, I just love people. So anything to put a smile on someone else's face, anything to actually help someone else achieve their goal, I'm down for that. So I think that will contribute to my success um, in what I do.
That's fascinating. All right. So when you were growing up, did you ever have like a lot of examples of entrepreneurs? I know you said your family was involved in the church. Did you think that you would want to own a business one day, or how how did that play in your childhood? Like for me, my mom, I remember 6 years old, I learned to spell the word entrepreneur. This is 1981. My mom was the only entrepreneur out of all of my friends' parents, or mothers at least, right? And so I was super proud of her, and so I had the example of business ownership for me for pretty much my whole life. So I never thought that I would work for someone for a long period of time. Like I knew there would be some time where I had a job, but I always knew I would want to own something. What was your sort of background in that?
Well, Andre, I would say I was privileged to never go to bed hungry, but there was never anything um, substantial happening in my immediate area that I would remember. And so I grew up around a bunch of hardworking people who actually just had to go out there every day to hustle to provide. And like I said, I was fortunate that I never went to bed hungry, but I never had basically like more than enough or things in abundance. And so I would say I genuinely just grew up in a hardworking family. I don't remember. I have a few uncles. They were in the tourism industry, owning a bone fishing company, but that was basically it.
Yeah.
Nothing major.
So that's fascinating because I know a lot of people who come to our industry, even some of the interviews we've already done, a lot of people had like a hustling background previous to this, right? Like maybe not hustling illegally, but they would, like Sakina was talking about, she when she relocated to Arkansas, she was selling perfume, door to door, and or when she was younger at like 13, 14 years old, she started a little catering something, or and a lot of people have that background. And what I love about your story is it shows that our industry can it's big enough to accept all backgrounds. There's not just one type of story that has to be present in order for you to be successful. So with that, what made you decide, because you said you made a decision when you were introduced to the concept of Forex? Has you been involved in business ownership before that, or you had never really had much involvement there?
Well, Andre, I had no previous experience in anything like this. At the time, I was working as a police officer in my hometown, McLeanstown, and I was privileged to work with a Sergeant 1237 Cassidy Smith. And I guess I was always a respectful young man on the police force, always tried to do what is right. And we had a conversation one day, and he said, Pinder, I want you to read this book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And he gave me access to it. Andre, I was not interested in reading. I had no interest in that. And so every other day he see me, he's like, Pinder, did you start the book? I said, no, Sarge, I didn't start it yet, but I would probably start it tonight or tomorrow, whatever. And I think we made an agreement that I should read the first and the second chapter. And if I would get past that, I don't have to read the book. Well, Andre, I read the first chapter and I began reading the second chapter. But there's a poem. I can't remember the exact words of the poem, but it basically, when I read that poem, it basically told me that whatever I wanted to achieve in life, it was possible. And it actually opened my eyes to listen, bro, what you was doing all your life, you're accepting the minimal when there is major things out there if you believe and if you work towards it. When I read that poem, Andre, it lights was out, drop mic, I was all in. And so a few weeks later, I was presented this opportunity by two of my classmates. And I was already ready. I was just waiting for something at the time. And I just said yes. And once I pressed join, I was all in.
So okay, so this is actually fascinating because your story is very interesting. Okay, so probably or more than likely without the mentorship relationship of that sergeant with you who took the time and cared enough to offer you that book, you might not have been in the mental space necessary to say yes when the opportunity came. Do you see the thin thread that a lot of us come into this industry on. I'll give you an example from the time I said yes to my first company all the way back years ago, all the way up until recent time. So you're talking about 13, 14 years. No other single person had ever come to me with a network marketing opportunity.
Wow.
Right? No one had ever hit me up and said, I've never been on anybody's list. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Like no, no one ever called me up and said, Andre, you're a sharp guy. Right?
Andre, I seem to be on everybody's list now. I don't know. I seem to be on everybody's list now.
So I was just like, man, either that or they saw that I was all in with the company that I was participating with, and they knew they weren't going to convince me otherwise. I don't know what the case was, but it's just such a thin thread. And just like you, it was actually my manager at my company that I worked at, and he invited me to a meeting 3 times. Now, I grew up in this industry, so I knew what he was inviting me to. And I blew him off for like 3 weeks because I knew what the industry was about, except there was one caveat I never learned, even having growing up in it. I never knew that there was personal development, right? I never knew that Think and Grow Rich was part of the process. I never knew that you could work with someone like Randy Webb. I never, right? Like all I saw was sales and recruiting. Like that's all I understood. And I was so shy and so non-desirous to talk to people about their money and ask them for a purchase that I would never do network marketing. But I had gotten to the point where I was like, man, something got to change, right? And so I blew this guy off for 3 weeks. He finally comes in. He actually brings in a flip chart. Back in the day, we had these old flip charts. He brings in a flip chart and he says, sit down at lunch. Now he's my manager, so I got to sit down with him. And he starts going through the flip chart and it's all out of order. It's all this and that. And so I literally put the flip chart back in place, you know, for my speaking background. And I'm turning around and I started presenting the presentation to my manager. And he's like, yeah, that looks right. Yeah, that's exactly right. And so I at that point I said, man, you don't know what you're talking about. I'll show up tonight, because the pieces of the flip chart were enough to get me interested.
Wow.
Right? Wow. The pieces of the flip chart were enough. So then when I showed up that night, when I got there, now here I was, had been an activist. I was broke, right? Like I'm broke because all I did was serve the community. When you serve the community and that's all you do, most times you're not making a lot of money for that. You're doing that out of passion, right?
Yep.
And so it was the guy who showed the presentation was a cardiac, he assisted in cardiac surgery, like he's an assistant heart surgeon. Okay. I got my sales manager there who's making 100 plus grand a year, the assistant heart surgeon. And then the guy who comes in at the end is in the finance department on Wall Street making $250,000. And here I am, bro. So I was like, look, this must be a message, right? Like here's all these dudes who are making way more money, who I would think don't need any extra income streams. And yet here they are in someone's living room on a Thursday night, you know what I'm saying? And I'll never forget it. Talk about the mentorship. That night, the guy who was in the finance, he took me to his car. He opened up his trunk and he started going through CDs or cassette tapes at the time. And he's like, no, you don't qualify for that. And, you know, and I was like, what you mean I don't qualify, right? Like as soon as he said that, I was like, I qualify, right? But he gave me one tape and I'll never forget it. It was called Private Franchising in a .com World. That was what it was called. I took that tape home. I listened to it. Tape completely changed my life. So ever since then, I've been all in. So very similar in the sense that like you are on a thin thread that got you involved in this, and also talk to you about a little bit about that mentorship. So now once you started reading that book, what would you say has been the value of, you know, you said you had no experience, but the value of being able to plug into the Randy and Wanda Webbs and the Sakina Abdul-Jalils and you know, being able to access Nafis Khan and those types of things in terms of helping you grow your ability to succeed?
Well, like I said, the book basically started it, and then me saying yes, and just as you mentioned just now, the mentorship, the personal self-development that I basically stumbled into is like none other. I mean, when I met Randy the first time here in Freeport, he came to an event at Pelican Bay, and I just felt as if he was genuine. And all I did, I'm not the best on following instructions, Andre. I must say that sometimes I'm stubborn, hard-headed, whatever. But I saw somebody who had success. I saw somebody who had results. And so I'm like, wow, this guy had a background in the military. I'm a police officer. So if he could do it, then I could. And so every day, even right now, Andre, every time I look at Randy, I'll be like, Eddie, you could be that one day. Because the personal development that I've been doing over the past couple of months showed me that once you have somebody who walks on 2 feet just like you, who have 2 hands just like you, who could see, smell, speak just like you, if they achieve something, it's possible. All you gotta do is commit yourself to the work that's required, and success will happen.
Wow. I love it. All right. So you dropping some nuggets there right there. Hold on.
I'm trying to hold back.
Nah. You got it right there. So a couple things you said. So number one, I also found this phenomenal for myself. So again, with that community activist background, right when I got started in the company, I actually moved to Georgia from New York when I first got started in the industry. And in order for me to get people on my community activist side to come down and visit me in Georgia, or to come down and help me with some of the work that I was going to do down there, or whatever it may be, I would have had to raise funds or figure out a way to pay for them to come down, right? And it blew me away, because the moment that I showed any aptitude or any effort, I didn't even have to have aptitude, but any effort to participate in my own rescue, on the business side, I had people flying down all the time, and I was comparing the two. These are on the activist side, it was people I'd worked with for years, like in the trenches, and over here, these were people I just met, and they were coming down and they were serving. And I remember being on the phone crying, leaving like a voice message, like, "Yo, I can't believe that these winners will come down here and help me, and they barely know me." So you mentioned that Randy Webb kind of made that investment as the Bahamas was just sort of developing. He was able to come down there and say, "Hey, listen, there's a couple guys that are putting in some work. Let me come in and pour into them." And that's amazing, don't you think? Like, that people of that stature will just, if you just show a little bit of effort, right? A little bit of, I have a dream, that you got like people like that coming in to help. That's amazing, don't you think?
Andre, Randy is a Bahamian. Randy has been in the Bahamas since I came part of this opportunity more than I've been in the United States. The guy, every time I call on him, "Hey bro, just let me know what you need and I'll be there." And this guy show up every time. So I mean, hats off to him big time.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Then the other thing that you said that I love, you said, if he can do it, I can do it. But more importantly, out of that, the nugget I got was, it's not just a mantra. It's, what is the work that he did that's required to be at his level, and then I'm going to commit myself to that work. Where did that come from for you? Is that just something you picked up over time, or have you always been sort of like, if you see what you want, you got to find out how to get it done, and then you attack it? Or where did that come from for you?
Well, I think I might have picked it up over the time doing a lot of personal self development, because like I said, I'm not like, I think I was pushed into leadership not knowing. And so in order for me to lead, I had to build myself. And so everybody is saying, "Eddie, you're a great leader." And so all the time I'm scrambling, trying to put things together, because I'm like, I don't even know what I'm doing. All I'm doing is just following a system that someone else created, and I have everybody following me. And so the same things that I learn every day, I try to actually pour it back into my team. And Andre, I must pause here and say this. Like, I've been telling my team every day that personally, I believe that God Himself handpicked everybody that is in my organization right now, because I have persons that came from every walk of life, business, um, industrial, like every area. I have teachers. And like Mr. Dwayne King. I mean, the fella is one of the best on this island in karate. Like, I have everybody. And Andre, when I tell you these people are willing, and like, it's like, I think it's a story with Moses where he was fighting to keep his hand up. Every time my hand began to fall, I have somebody there who was coming there and pushing my hand up and actually helping things to go. And so I must just put that pen in there. I have the best team in the world, hands down,
See,
hands down.
that's awesome. That you know what? I love what you said there because I find that the best leaders understand that they're leaders, but it's because they want to serve. So, it's not that you were necessarily pushed into leadership, it's that you chose leadership because you wanted to serve your people, right? And when you create that culture amongst your team, when people know that you're there for them, and this is anything, it doesn't have to just be our industry, right? When people know that you care about them and you want them to see them succeed, then man, it fosters an environment. I can't say for a fact that you guys got an awesome team with a ton of absolute winners on that team and a ton of absolute servers in that community. So, with that being said, let's talk about some of the explosive growth that's happening right now in the Bahamas. I mean, every time I turn around, there's a new flyer, there's a new rank advancement, there's a new something going on. I'm sitting over here and I'm like, man, I need to go to the Bahamas, man. I need to move there or something. So what you got going on, and let's identify some of the people that you got that are just recently ranked up, or just you know your organization, people who are putting in the work, even behind the scenes. We might not know them yet, but let's just talk about some of the growth that's happening on the Bahamas because I think, we talked about this before on one of your calls. I think that especially right now, with the world going through this social distancing, this isolation, the economy, and all that stuff, I really think that you talk about God. I think what you guys are doing was an example to the rest of the world, because coming out of Dorian to what you guys have been able to do as an organization, as an island, as a nation, moving forward is like, hey, listen, right now we're just suffering not being able to get a haircut, right? Or not being able to shave. It has nothing to do with like my whole island was flattened or whatever else, and just to see the resiliency. So I really think that this is an important message right now for people to be able to get is the success coming out of the Bahamas, because it was just last year in September, like August, September time, right? That you guys were hit with that hurricane, and no excuses. You guys are still growing, still exploding, still tearing things up. And I think it's absolutely amazing. So why don't you go ahead and share, bro?
Well, Andre, man, where do I start? I felt as if it was an obligation. First of all, once I found something that was good, that was amazing, and that is um, honestly awesome, as I am Master Academy too. First of all, shared with my family members. And so recently I had my brother-in-law, who is my oldest sister's husband, rank up to platinum 600. Then I had one of my very, very close friends, Adela Allen. She also popped platinum 600 in this um, time of pandemic. Then I had another one of my good friends, Sharika Pinder. She had platinum 150. And Adina's sister, Michaela Allen, she came back and she, like, all this happened in the month of April. And so it like us Bahamians, we are resilient people. And we are strongest, or we show our strength in times when everybody else expects us to be weak. And so the island, honestly, there isn't much happening economic wise. Our cash cow has always been the tourism industry, and now the world's basically almost on lockdown, so there's hardly any movements in and out the country, and so like nothing happening. So everybody seems to now be focusing on some other means of income, and so I think that has been the reason why we've been experiencing such success, especially in building. And like I said again, I must start back here. It's because of the persons on the team. I have some people who are relentless, who just out there, who fighting every day, and who actually took on my passion. Because my passion, like I want everybody to win. And so I have a team basically where even if there's persons who are not directly in their organization, they're willing to come in and help out wherever. I have regular one-on-one training going on. There are people on the team that I can call, hey, listen, I need you to do a one-on-one with this person, whatever. And that's just a few days ago, I have one of my teammates who was catching on a bit slow, and I was able to speak to Adina, and she allowed that lady to come in the house from like that morning, and she's able to stay there however long she wants, just because we wanted to help her to get up to speed with everything. And so, like, the team is just amazing, Andre. That's all I can say about that.
Bro, you do got an amazing team, and you got, not only that, you got great presenters who are able to make the information understandable and relatable for people to understand. But I love what you said. Let me ask you a question, because I think some people in America need to understand this. Um, so tourism is the cash cow for the island. Tourism's gone, so people are probably struggling a little bit financially. What is the minimum wage or the average sort of income monthly in the Bahamas?
Okay, the minimum wage weekly is $210 a week.
Okay. Okay. So the cost of getting started is basically 25% of someone's salary.
Yes.
Okay. Now here's why I want that to be understood here in America, because a lot of times people say, well, I don't have the 235, or I don't, and it's not that. It's just that people prioritize where they spend their money. What I love about what you guys are doing, what Kenya's doing, what all these other stuff, is that they strip away the excuses. The human being is going to do what the human being wants to do. And in Platinum 600 income is an extra $600 a month. People don't know that because they don't know our ranks, but an extra $600 a month means something, right? In the Bahamas, an extra $1,000 a month means something. And where I think people get it twisted is here in the United States. You know what Platinum 600? It means something, because $600 stops most bankruptcies in the United States of America. And most people are just so high, on their high horse, that they don't want to get started and start something before an extra $600. I could do that. Well, no, you can't, because if you could, you wouldn't be going bankrupt, right? And so, so I just think it's amazing what you guys are able to do. So not only do you have the pandemic, the economy slowed down, you just recovered from Dorian, and you still got people getting started, and that's that no excuse resilience that you talked about. And I love it, bro. I love it. You guys get me fired up. Every time I see a post coming out the Bahamas, I'm excited, So I've had a chance to be on your calls. I know your team is growing. I know that you're doing a phenomenal job. Are you excited? Do you think that we'll be able to I think we'll be opened up by Houston. Do you think so? I think Houston, the world will be open by then. I hope so.
I hope so.
Yeah. I hope so. I hope by September.
I honestly hope we be open by September, because if we do, we'll have a lot of people from the Bahamas traveling to Houston.
That's what's up. Now, you went to London, right? How was that?
London was awesome.
So you went to London like right at the beginning sort of the pandemic. Go ahead. You went right at the beginning of the pandemic?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So tell people about the events. Tell people what is the events. Like, do you feel like the events are important and that type of stuff is beneficial to you individually?
Andre, I will start off with this. One of my mentors, Wanda Webb, a powerful firehouse. She said this one time ago, and she said that we are so privileged that we continue to pass over opportunities.
Wow.
As a result of me saying yes to this opportunity, I was able to travel to Las Vegas for the first time, and then, like you spoke about a few weeks ago, I was in London at the event. And why I say that we are so privileged that we pass over opportunities. When I stood in those events, both events, London and Las Vegas, you have persons from the Spanish community who I know that dollar value is not on par with the United States dollar, like in the Bahamas. One thing I would never forget, whenever you see our CEO, Christopher Terry, touch the stage, you just hear the chant, oh, Christopher Terry, oh, and most time I'm just standing there like in awe, like, wow. Because a lot of persons who are small-minded would never understand. But these guys see someone now who actually represents opportunities to them, who represent that way out that they possibly didn't see in their future. He represents a way that they could learn a skill set and perhaps free their family. And so, Andre, listen, I tell you, I've been going to these events and coming back home and telling my team, hey, listen, there's one thing you hearing about the event. There's one thing you're watching the event on TV, but to be there and to experience that energy, Andre, like I would never miss an IM Mastery Academy event. Never, ever. Trust me.
Yes.
But honestly, every time I travel and I go to one of those conferences, it is things like that. It's like when you get to actually sit down amongst 10,000 people, and you actually see people on the stage, and they actually sharing their stories, how they was broke, and they said yes, and a year later, now they are 6 and 7 figures. Andrew, that's crazy, man. That's crazy. Trust me, that's crazy.
Man, you nailed it on the head too, because like it's like if you went to a concert, you went to a Rihanna concert or something, you're a big Rihanna fan, and you go to the concert, and of course the concert's amazing, and then you come back and you try to explain that concert to somebody, they still might get excited, but there's no way they can experience what it was like to be front row at the concert with Rihanna. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's the same thing. It's you're right. Those conventions are amazing proof. You know, you mentioned how they see hope in a way, and someone who's provided that vehicle. When you see Christopher Terry, I remember one of the most powerful things I ever saw at an event was it was a lady, small in size but huge in stature, and she was from China, and she said that when she had basically built a business in equating to us to like a platinum chairman 250, something like that, right? She said that she worked in a rice paddy in a small village in China, lived in a hut. And it just so happened that someone came with a product by foot, walking from village to village, and she got the product and she got a tape. And she bought the product and she got a tape or something by a man by the name of Bill Britt. This is a true story. She played the tape, and it was that one tape that gave her the belief that she could do something. Bill Britt never been to China, never stepped foot. Here he is from North Carolina. The tape, the audio that he had attached to the opportunity and vehicle, she was able to raise herself from the rice paddy in China to traveling all over the world with an international business. I mean, when you hear stories like that, it's like, man, you can see what we have our hands on in terms of the ability to provide hope with what you said, you know, a vehicle. Because there's one thing to be excited, you know, and nothing against Tony Robbins and all those people are great. But if I go to a Tony Robbins event, I'm excited, I'm going to learn something, I'm going to be able to apply something, but I don't have a vehicle attached to that event that I can directly apply that knowledge to. When you go to one of our events, you are going to be excited, you are going to come out with information, but it's attached to the same vehicle and the same opportunity that all of those people from stage just had. It's amazing, man. So I agree with you, bro. I agree with you. All right, bro, listen, I told you I wasn't going to hold you too long. I know you got a lot of stuff to do. Is there anything else that you wanted to add on here? I'm thankful that we had the opportunity to share with you. Anything else you want to share?
Well, like I started to say, like I've been telling my team for the past probably 2 weeks that we need to respect opportunities, because everybody know what's going on around the world today, and Dr. K spoke about the ECC 11 strategy, and Andre, if you were to read that thing, it would blow your mind. Like I said, I come from a strong Christian background. My father is a bishop here in the Bahamas. Ecclesiastes chapter 11 verses 1. Give me a minute, Andrew.
It's a beautiful part of being live.
Okay, I'm sorry, but I just have to get rid of some
No, that's
noise.
okay, bro. This is what we love. Work from home.
Okay, like I said, Ecclesiastes chapter 11 in the Good News version, it says that it is good to invest in foreign trade. And after many days, you would find a profit. In the second verse, right, it says to invest in 7, even 8 streams of income. And the latter part of that voice said that because you never know what bad luck you're going to experience in this world. Andre, when I read that a few weeks ago, I said, God, this is it. This is it. Had we opened up our mind, had we seized opportunities, a lot of us would have been in a better position to handle what we're going through right now. And so opportunity like I spoke about just a few minutes ago about traveling to Las Vegas. I said yes to iMarket Live. I was afforded an opportunity to travel places that I don't think nobody in my immediate family traveled. I grew up in McLeanstown behind the bush.
Right.
I never heard anybody talking about traveling to London. I was walking towards the London Bridge, and I had what I consider a come to Jesus moment, because as I walked towards the bridge, I'm looking like, wow, this bridge is beautiful. But the only thing I remember about the bridge was that growing up as a child, they sing the song, London Bridge is falling down. And I'm like, in my mind, London Bridge is falling. This is not for, this is a beautiful bridge. And so I said yes to an opportunity. It afforded me a chance to travel someplace that nobody in my immediate family ever spoke about. I grew up walking around in McLeanstown barefoot, bareback. There are persons who was in McLeanstown before me and who already died and gone and can't say that, listen, I've experienced these things. And so I just want to encourage somebody, listen, it may not be your norm. You may be out there in a situation where you say, listen, God, I want you, I need this, I need better. Show me a way, bless me. God is actually presenting you with a package. It may not look like something that you're familiar with. It may not look like the traditional job. It may not look like I'm like an opportunity where I have to sell a product. But say yes, because that very yes could be something that changed your life forever. I never thought today I would have been able to say that I am an ex-police officer after 12 years. But I remember listening to an audio, and it spoke about this guy, Hernando Cortez, where he was in charge of a fleet of ships. And when they went to war, they were outnumbered 100 to 1. And when he came and he spoke to them, he said, listen, burn the ships. They couldn't understand what he meant right then, Andre. But they trusted him and they burned the ship. And he said to them, listen, either we fight or we die, but one thing we're not going to do, we're not going to surrender. And the move that I made, a lot of people didn't understand it. But a lot of us in life, if we were to just step beyond the norm, if we were to just jump out the boat, just like Peter. Peter had faith and he trusted Jesus and he stepped out the boat. And he did something that he probably never saw anybody in his life did. But you have to say yes. You have to take that step. You have to jump. Because that yes could possibly change your life. I tell people, in 2019, I learned one thing, and Andrew, I'll never forget it. The only limits that we have is a limit that we put on ourselves. And this thing called fear is keeping a lot of us from living our dreams. And so when I saw this opportunity, a guy from Guyana, he's an apostle, he reached out to me through Facebook. I never knew him. And he said to me, he said, when I was in the shower, God dropped your face in my spirit. And God said to tell you that he allow you to see an opportunity that is going to help you to bring financial deliverance to the people in your area. And Andre, I accepted that call, just as my dad feels as if he was born to preach the gospel. I feel as if this is my call from God to actually try to steer my people into financial freedom. I have bills just like everybody else. I owe people just like everybody else. Finding 235 was half of me just like everybody else. But I said yes, and I respected opportunity. And so now I'm seeing results like it's crazy, Andre. But the Bible said that eyes have not seen, ears have not heard, neither has it entered in the heart of man what God has prepared. And so I just want to encourage somebody that is going to watch this video, that's going to watch this live feed, whether it's today or some other time. Just say yes. Just say yes. Like Steve Harvey say, just jump, because you just never know. You never know what's on the other side of that yes. You never know what's on the other side of that jump. And so, Andre, I thank you. I appreciate you giving me this opportunity to speak to your audience. It is a pleasure anytime.
Bro, I loved it. I loved it, man. You talked about it, bro. Burn the ships. Burn the ships and go all in. Participate in your own rescue. Just jump. Just take a chance, because what you're doing isn't working. I think that's the part that most people miss, bro, is that they don't have enough self-awareness, or it hurts too much to admit that what they're currently doing isn't working. And because it hurts, they just say, you know what, I'll just deal with, like, it hurts to admit it because it's an ego shot. So they're just like, I'll just deal with what I'm currently doing. I know what that feels like. And they're not ready to cut themselves open, do that personal development, and do what they need to do to get to the other side. I think that happens to a lot of people, but I think they don't realize that it's not as hard as they think it is. You know, it's harder to stay stagnant than it is to grow. Right?
That comfort zone, like that a lot of people fall in love with is a deadly place. You have to be comfortably being uncomfortable, and that's where success will come in. So I like I said, a lot of things I'm learning as I go, and I'm comfortable in it. I'm going. I have, like, every day I have to go on motivational videos. I have to go on mentorship calls, and that's basically how I learn. I'm learning as I go, and so I'm just trying to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Bro, you're doing an awesome job. I'm telling you, you guys are setting the pace. You're not just making your island proud. You're not only making Legacy Worldwide proud, but you guys are making all of I Am Mastery Academy proud, because people know that Bahamas is in the building. You know, and that's just amazing.
Huh? We ain't finished yet.
I know that. You're just getting started. Just getting started. Did you tell me about Alaska or something? I mean, you guys are going, you got to be worldwide. It ain't just to be the Bahamas, you know.
Alaska's launch, buddy.
Let's go. Let's go. Well, listen, brother, I really appreciate you taking the time. I know you got some other things that you got to jump into today. Absolute blessing to have you on. Thank you for sharing with the audience. And listen, if you guys are seeing a live stream, especially something that's being shared, and you're part of the Ed Mill organization, someone on his team shared this opportunity. I can tell you from firsthand experience, I've been doing this for a very, very, very long time. And there could not be a better organization, a better leadership group, and a better team of people that you could partner with than what he has going on in the Bahamas. So if you're on someone in the Bahamas feed, and you're looking at this right now and you're trying to make a decision on whether Forex could be something that could impact your family, I definitely encourage you to jump. I definitely encourage you to burn your ship. And I definitely encourage you to reach out to Edwin and his whole entire team, because that's going to be the best decision of your life. All right. Thanks, bro. I really appreciate you. And you guys have a good one. All right.
All right, so bro. Peace.